Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's virtual Sunday school session. Before we get into our story, I want you to do a little activity. So you might have to pause the video to go do it because it's going to involve a mirror. So I want you to look in a mirror or your computer screen if you have your video up like I do right now, and cover half your face. Look at your face. It does weird things to my screen. And then cover the other half of your face. And see, do they look the same? Now, I've discovered with my face, since I've been doing all these online videos lately, I actually have, my face is a little bit different. It's like this eye lid is higher, and when I raise my eyebrows, only one of them raises. So I never noticed that before. And everyone does have a little bit of variation on different sides of their face. And it turns out our gaze, when you look at someone else, always focuses, I forget if it's the left or right hand side of someone's face, but it actually looks at the right hand or left hand side of your face is what you're looking at most of the time. It's interesting. So look at a mirror, look at one side of your face, look at the other, look in profile and see, if they're the same. And there might be a little bit of differences, like my eyebrow thing, right? But pretty much they're the same. So today's lesson is called Doing Your Good Side. So when you look at both sides of your face, do you feel like you have a good side when you take photos of yourself? Do you always try to get it from one side or from the other side? Doing selfies? Do you always do one side or the other? People often say they have a good side, so they want to show their good side when they're getting a photo taken. But today we're going to be talking about doing your good side. And when you're talking about your face and your good side of when you want a photo taken, we're talking about your best physical side, right? But pretty much, really, people say, "Oh, going to get me for my good side in a photo," but really, we mostly look pretty much the same on both sides of our face. So there is a quote by Mark Twain. Mark Twain said, "Everyone is a moon and has a dark side which he never shows to anybody." So what do you think he meant? Is he referring to their physical side? No, of course he wasn't. He was talking about people's character. So when we're talking about doing your good side, it's not about anything physical. It's the fact that our characters are mixed, right? So some parts are better than the others. We all have times when we feel angry or mean or envious. And then we have other times when we feel kind and caring and we want to help people. And these differences reflect the different parts or the different sides of our characters. So we all have these two sides. So like last week, this is sort of a continuation of last week. We talked about the good wolf and the bad wolf. Well, we also have these two sides. So it's another way of saying we have these two sides to us. So showing your right side can mean doing the right thing instead of the wrong thing, being virtuous instead of sinful. And that's why we're going to be talking today about doing your good side. So I'm going to tell you a story, and it's an Islamic story since we're coming up to the end of Ramadan. And so it starts, there was and there was not a time when Joah and his son set out for the market with their donkey walking along behind them. They passed several men sitting outside the shop drinking tea and heard some of their remarks. "Look at that man. How can he be so mean as to make his child walk all the way to the market when he has a donkey that the child could ride?" Well, Joah heard them and immediately picked up his son and put him on the donkey's back. They continued this way for a while until they passed several women who were also on their way to market. For shame, one woman said to another. "Look at that child, riding the donkey while he makes his father walk. Doesn't he have any respect for his elders?" Right away, Joah heard them, and so he took his son off the donkey and got on himself. They had traveled only slightly farther when someone else criticized the father for being so selfish, riding on the donkey while making his son walk. Once again, Joah overheard them and responded to this criticism, and he picked up his child and placed him on the saddle directly in front of him, so now they were both riding on the donkey. But alas, this also brought forth criticism for those who passed by. "How mean they are to overload the donkey like that," cried an old man to his friend. There's only one thing to do, thought Joah in despair. He and his son dismounted. After a great deal of effort, Joha managed to heave the donkey upon his own back, and he was carrying the donkey. Only a little way down the road, everyone was laughing at the stupid man carrying his donkey instead of riding it. Joha was very shamefaced. He put down the donkey, and they continued to the market exactly how they had started, with all three of them walking. Some minutes later, he looked at his son. So you see, he said with a wise nod, it is clearly not possible to please all people. It is better to do what you know is right and please God. So what do you think of this story? What caused problems for the father, the son, and the donkey? They kept changing what they were doing. They kept changing how they were getting to town. Why did they have all these problems? Well, they were trying to please others. Why might people try to please others? They might do it because they don't want someone to be mad at them. They don't want someone to see them badly in a certain way, like, hey, you're burdening your donkey by both riding them. They might affect how people sees them. You might want to please someone else to get someone to like you. Or sometimes you might do what someone else thinks you should do because you aren't sure what the right thing is. And so to avoid making a decision yourself and thinking about and figuring out what the right thing to do is, you just do what other people say. So people who, I want to talk about integrity. So integrity is doing what you yourself know is best. When you figure out the right thing to do and you do it despite what other people might think. If you think it's best, and you do what you think is best, then that's integrity. And that's also doing your good side, right? So do you think they had integrity, the father and the son? Maybe he didn't at the beginning because he just did what other people thought he should do. But by the end, he had figured it out after putting his son on the donkey and climbing up there himself. And then crazily, he carried the donkey himself. And then he figured out that no, he had to do what he knew was best. And he learned to have integrity. So having integrity is a way to do your good side. It's about doing exactly that, what you know is right. And it's always not always easy to know what the right thing is, but it's really listening to yourself, listening to your inner self, listening to God, and you'll figure it out and not worry so much about what other people think you should do, but doing the right thing. So for this week's activity, we're going to make shadow profiles. So there's two ways to do this. You're going to end up with something. Hold on a second. You're going to end up with something that looks, let me see it best, something like this. It's reflecting. I'm trying to get to it's not reflecting. Sort of like this. So you want to outline, you're going to outline the side of your face. Some we're talking about our good sides. There we go. Our good sides and our bad sides. Do our good sides. And this is going to be your good side. So there's two ways you can do it. You're probably going to want to do it with someone. You're going to need a partner. So do it with your sibling or find a parent to help you. And you're going to lay a piece of paper down on the table, put your face up against it, and have the other person trace your profile on the piece of paper. That's the easy way. But there's a cooler way you can do this. It's a little bit more, it's a little more involved. You're going to need probably a bigger piece of paper than this to do this. Put a piece of paper on the wall over here, and then a few feet away from the wall, place a nice strong light source, and then sit in between the light source and the wall so that the shadow cast on the piece of paper is showing your profile. And then the person can get a really awesome outline of your profile from that shadow. It's really cool. So you can do it either way. And then what I want you to do in your good side profile is write down inside of that all the ways that you can do your good side. And that is your activity. And, you know, as you guys do these activities, feel free to, you know, share them in the comments of this on Facebook, because I'd love to see what you guys are doing. So that is it for this week. I will see you next week. Stay safe and be well. Be kind.